and have a goodbye, something because he's going off to college,
right.
that kind of thing. So he decided we're going to go out to a theater that had a restaurant in it.
Okay.
And by the time we got there, it was dark, and I couldn't see the rest of the menu. So I'm like this, and I saw a chicken sandwich. I said, I'll go with that.
Okay.
Problem was, is it was a huge sandwich, and a whole bunch of fries. So I ate half the sandwich, some of the fries, and gave the rest to my son.
Okay.
Figured, that's safe, that I won't have the dinner part, type of thing later, right? So, so I did that. But then, the rest of the week, I gained a whole bunch of weight. And I've been struggling all week long to get that weight back off again.
Okay.
And I've been sticking to the diet and everything, and it was just like,
okay.
I'm gonna go.
What day did you have the chicken sandwich and fries and so forth?
Right after you weighed me in
that
last
Wednesday.
week.
That Thursday?
Yeah,
or
Wednesday.
Okay.
Right after, because it was like we got done here and then we went to the theater with my son.
Okay.
So it was like, and then like I said,
you went to the theater this past weekend too, right?
Right,
and
but they gave away free popcorn and soda, and so I was having the diet soda, and I was basically there for 3 days. But the first day I didn't get anything. The second day I had like 2 pieces of popcorn, and then the third day he gave me he had me get a popcorn for me, but it was really for him type of thing. And there was this mound on, overflowing type of thing. And he says, you can have some popcorn. So I ate just enough to get it so it wasn't overflowing, falling out of the
No, she
bag.
said she's going to take it regardless if I said yes or no. She's going to take it.
But it was, maybe a half a cup's worth. But that was the worst of it.
Well, let's get your jacket and get your sweater off, and we'll get your weight.
See what my
blood
disaster was.
pressure is. Yeah. Naturally when you eat out at restaurants, it's going to be very high in salt.
Just mostly water. And I was really thirsty this week.
And that's probably part of it. So let's go ahead and see where your weight is.
Okay.
Stay, Susan. Sweetie, stay.
And this is week 2, so we'd like to see some weight loss, but I mean you had a pretty good, you're 306 too, so you did lose a ½ pound.
Okay. So I lost something.
You did lose something, but it is a little bit concerning that given the fact that you had such a big loss. I mean, you lost a ½ pound, but the bigger issue that we need to see is predominantly, and that's why this first month is so important, is because naturally, if you start deviating from that and you start eating more salty food, your body's going to become, kind of somewhat sensitive to it, and it does retain fluid. And so there's no likely scenario that you would gain a lot of weight, right, unless you're just eating tons of salt or eating tons of food, and or there's an issue with bowel movements. Okay, so the only likely scenario for that is either excess salt, like I mentioned, irregular bowel movements, and or inflammation, because inflammation does tend to retain fluid for that reason. I mean, you had a pretty good drop the first week, right? You had a pretty good drop the first week. And so that's why this first month is so important, mainly because I don't have any history of trending with you in regards to seeing what your body does. And that's why the first month is imperative that you're as strict as possible. So that way we can rule out variables, right? But what happens is, since it's only week 2, and then you start eating more out food, right, that's higher in salt, I don't know, right? It's hard for me to differentiate what could be going on until I get those labs, right? I don't know, to be honest with you. But normally, sometimes you do lose a pretty good week, and then you can stall the second week, right? That's just your body's way of responding. I don't have any other, possible theories to why you would not be able to lose weight unless, again, your excess consumption of salt is impeding your ability to lose weight because you're retaining fluid. So.
Which makes sense. It's just one of those. I just know that this is normal for me. I know you don't know that, but it's just like I will lose a whole bunch of weight, and next thing I know, I gain it all back no matter what I do, even if I starve myself. And of course I got the biggest loser at the base that says, oh, you're supposed to be eating your minimum of 2,000 calories. I'm like, no, I can't. No. Not according to the doctor. I'm sticking to that diet, and I'm sticking to it. And I've noticed this week I'm extremely thirsty.
Okay.
Very, very thirsty. Which I brought my water here
It's
somewhere. Oh, there it is.
Okay.
Brought my water, but and I'm out of the shakes.
Right.
And I got 3 bars left.
Yep.
So, but yeah, this week I was like extremely thirsty. I just cannot get enough water in me.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Which that could be part of the thing, but.
Which, given that you're on a, let's see here.
My leg doesn't seem, well, no, it's pretty fat, but it doesn't seem to be bothering me as much as it was before.
Yeah. When you saw your physician or your PA a week ago or a week and a half ago, did they, do you have the results back from that lab work? Did they do lab work?
No, they didn't do any lab work.
Right.
No, we were trying to get the paperwork for here done and all that other stuff. And then he had me set up for a diabetes class, which ended up being a bad timing thing, so I just canceled it. That, and I got so many people coming at me from so many directions on that subject. It's like, okay, I already, the diabetes, you know, it was just diet in general. It's like I got like 5 different people coming at me. Oh, well, this diet's better, this diet's better, this diet's better. And I was like, all right, I got a doctor. I'm going to stick to what he says. Just leave me alone.
Let's go. I'm sorry. I didn't want you to put your jacket back. I want to get your blood pressure as well.
I'm just cold. Move Susie, would you?
Susie.
You can turn that off.
Okay. And so when you have a high inflammatory response, like I said, your body's ability, it's a stressor, right, on your body when you have inflammation.
Right.
Right. And when you have inflammation, it leads to what we call glucose dysregulation. Right. When that happens, insulin levels can go up. When that happens, it makes it harder for your body to lose weight. So what we have to do is lower that insulin level down, because insulin, what that does, says, you know, hey, when your insulin level is high, it's basically, it needs to help move the glucose from your bloodstream into your cells, right? And if your insulin levels are high, you know, that's what it's trying to do. It's saying basically store it, not burn it. Okay, so by lowering your insulin levels, it makes it a little bit easier for your body to burn the stored fat. Okay, it's not necessarily saying, hey, you need your body's going to burn more fat when you lower your insulin levels. It just makes it easier, and hence why we do have you on a little bit lower glycemic diet for that reason. But I think what we may need to do is, there's 2 things. One, you probably need to get the inflammation under control. Second thing we can do is help with a little bit of insulin control as well, by providing you this, you know, Insulix IS, which is going to help lower that as well as help maintain stable blood glucose values. So it does make it a little bit easier in that regards. So we're going to have you do this. I want you taking it twice a day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon. You can take it with a shake, or you can take it with a bar. It doesn't really matter. But I do want you taking about 5 hours apart.
At least 5 hours apart.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. We'll do that then. Because
now,
I need more shakes and stuff.
Yeah. Now, naturally, you know, there's ways you can help with with the inflammation. One, you're kind of already doing that by taking, you know, you're taking some fish oil, which is a good anti-inflammatory. Naturally, losing weight helps lower inflammation as well. Okay, so it's kind of like if I mentioned last week or a couple of weeks ago. Think of it as your body, you know, initially trying to lose weight by saying that, you know, you have to climb Mount Everest, right? Most people, when you know, think of weight loss, you got to lose 100 pounds, right? They view it as a challenge of Mount Everest, right? It's a big challenge. If you have some physiological reasons that make it a little bit more challenging, not impossible, make it challenging. Think of climbing Mount Everest, but the first phase of Mount Everest, you have to get up towards the mountain. You're going through a minefield and under barbed wire. Okay, it's harder to do. Okay, because your body has so much inflammation and so many other cardiometabolic disorders, like we talked about. You have metabolic syndrome that makes it challenging to lose the weight. Not impossible. It just makes it challenging. Okay, So as you get through that minefield and the inflammation starts to come down, then it gets a little bit easier. Okay, so that's why I say the first phase can be challenging, but then again too, what I mentioned is the first month is extremely important to be as rigid, as tight with that diet as possible, so we can eliminate variables that could be confounding the reason why you're not losing weight.
Right.
If you're having excess salt and you have inflammation, I don't know which is causing you to is preventing you from losing weight.
Yeah.
And that's why when we say a hyposodium diet, avoid those kind of things, stay as rigid as possible, then it kind of helps narrow down saying, well, it's not the salt, it's probably the inflammatory response that's going to impede the ability to lose weight right now. But again, it's not possible. We just have to get the inflammation down, and getting the inflammation down involves losing weight.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right.
Question on water is, I'm a lot more thirsty, and I don't want to overdrink the water, but
right.
I don't know. I was going with about 64 ounces a day.
That's perfectly fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The question being is how is your urine output?
It goes back and forth.
Okay.
There's sometimes it's like, I swear there's times I barely drank a water,
right.
and I'm in the bathroom, and then there's other times I swear I go about half a day and I'm wondering if I'm ever going to pee, that kind of thing. I noticed that the bowel movements are slower.
Okay, so
Does
not
that
as
make
frequent?
Yeah, and like usually in the morning, it's like within a half an hour or so after I get up, I gotta go. Now, like the last couple of days, I'm up for a couple of hours before my body says, hey, by the way, you want to get around to this, maybe a thought,
okay.
Type
are
of
you
thing.
having bowel movements daily, though?
Yeah.
You are, okay. And are they extreme, are they hard, firm, or soft, or?
Firm.
Firm, okay. So that tells me two things. One, we've got to just increase your fiber a little bit, and probably need to increase your fluid intake for that reason. If you're dehydrated, it leads to a much firmer bowel movement, and which basically indicates that you need more fluid. The other thing too is any cramping that you're having, any cramps in the lower legs, nothing like that. Okay, all right, just making sure. If we need to, we can always go to like a potassium supplement that can help for that reason. I think we gotta stay with what we're doing. Okay. Let's give it another week. Let's see where you're at next week. I want you to start this.
Okay.
Right. Keep your logging. I already kind of reviewed your log. I think you're doing fairly well there. Just try to be a little bit more specific with the logging that you're having. Like when I was looking at your log the other day, I mean, you put in like a side salad from Burger King, but then you had generic pork chops. So I'm assuming you didn't go to Burger King.
No. Yeah.
Right.
I put a note on my page that day saying it was a homemade salad, but I couldn't find what I wanted in there, and I'm thinking what I'm going to have to do is just take the time to type in exactly what's in my salad, because I'm having like kale and mustard greens, tomatoes.
And you're using a spray spritzer of some sort, or are you using
the lemon juice?
Lemon juice?
Yeah.
Okay. What about, are you measuring out the weight of the pork chops, or are they already prepackaged?
They're prepackaged ones, and they're about 4 ounces. They're the little ones. They're not the great.
So they individually wrapped and packaged. It says they're specifically 4 ounces, or do you buy in like 4 and send like a?
There's like 4 or 5 in there, and I weighed one, and it was like about 4 ounces. And I said, that's good. We'll just stick with that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Let's see here. You're walking.
Yes.
So I saw you on the 16th. And that day you weighed 306, and that evening you went to the movie theater, or that afternoon.
Right.
And that's when you had, the chicken sandwich and a little bit of the fries.
Right. And I gave the rest of myself.
Right. The next morning, how much did you weigh?
I didn't weigh myself the next morning. I weighed myself like the day after, like a couple days later.
Okay.
And I had been sticking to it ever since.
Okay.
It was the only bad thing I did all week.
Okay.
And then a couple days later, I got on the scale, and I gained like 4 pounds.
Okay.
And
That's
I was
all
like,
fluid.
son of a monkey.
Right. So there's two things for that. One, you got to weigh every day.
Okay.
don't deviate from it. Because like what I talked about last week is it can lead a little bit of complacency. When you see that kind of weight loss that first week, you can let your foot off the gas a little bit and say, well, if I have a little bit of this and I have a little bit of that. But what tends to happen is your body responded, right? And then you gained 4 pounds, right? Then you're fighting to get the 4 pounds back off, right? So that's the issue that I see. That's complete water. The question being is, why would you hold water? Well, the only reason why you would hold water is excess salt.
Yeah.
Right? So we've got to be very, very rigid and also weigh in every single day.
Okay.
For that.
Okay.
And then we'll see where you're at next week.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. And I guess this week I'll work on typing in what my ingredients, like I'll have my own menu type of thing. Does that make sense? Because I was, like some of my salads, it's like it's got carrots and I'm supposed to put a turnip in there, or not a turnip, beet in there, and I could eat. Beets taste like wood when they're raw,
Yeah, I'm not a beet person anyways.
They're pretty good. I like them, but when you eat them raw, they taste like wood. I tried that last year, and I was like, but I'll try to get those more on the exact thing, and then you could. I don't know. Can you look up what's in that? When you saw a salad in there, you can look it up.
Well, you'll have to create a recipe to it, and then however many servings, and then it'll partition out of however many servings that you have. So say that you make a survey that makes two servings, right? And you say, well, I had a half serving or I had a 1 serving. Then it's basically going to already calculate total caloric content for that specific recipe that you entered. You can definitely do that, and I think that's a wise choice. The big thing that I see with using this kind of a food database when there's so many foods in there, right, is being mindful with the specific food that you're logging and selecting, right? Even as something as simple as a salad, side salad, there could be a massive difference between low calorie and a high calorie, right? So what I always suggest is don't choose the lower calorie option of all the ones, because then that's probably not a true representation of where you're at. If you see 3 or 4 that are fairly close in caloric content, and when I say fairly close, within about 30, 40 calories, then select one of those. But if you're seeing some that are 100 calories less or 200 calories more, stay away from those and go with kind of the middle. That's what I find that would work best. But you can definitely add in, like I said, your own recipes. You can do that, and it helps.
Because
it's just a tool.
This thing wasn't going anywhere near where I wanted to go. This week you wanted me to have cottage cheese and fruit.
Right.
Do you want me to drop
I want to go back to week 1.
Okay.
And the reason why I want to go back to week 1 is because I want to make sure, right? So you had a good week at week 1. You lost a ½ pound this past week. Let's go back to what worked.
Okay.
So let's do that.
Okay.
I want you to stick with the yogurt, not the cottage cheese. Cottage cheese can have a lot of salt. Okay. And so if you have a cup of cottage cheese, that is a lot. That's like 800 milligrams of salt.
Oh, okay.
A half cup's 400.
Yeah, I had a half a cup of that. And that might explain why it tasted so funky last night. I tried something different. I took my cottage cheese and my fruit, peaches, or a peach, and I put it in a blender, blended it up, stuck it in the freezer, and tried to pretend like I was having ice cream. It was, I want to say bitter, very sour. It was like, oh my goodness. I was thinking it was one of those flavors that kids would get a kick out of, type of thing. But I was just trying to find a way to eat cottage cheese when I don't like it so much.
So are you guys planning to eat out this weekend?
No, not as far as that's becoming a rarity for us now.
Okay, because I really want to go back to week 1.
Yeah.
Okay, because we'll talk a little bit more about that next week, but we're going to get through some of these maybe possible self-limiting behaviors that you get to this point and then you don't lose, and then you naturally can self-sabotage by basically throwing in the towel, saying, well, see, I told you, and then give up, right? So that's what you can't do. The goal is to get you out of 300. So that's our first and only goal right now, right? And I'm still confident we can possibly do that by the end of the month, but we need to see what next week looks like.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I would have thought you would have been closer to 300 a day, given your trend last week. I didn't expect you to see a ½ pound, But, you know, a half pound's better than no pound.
Yeah, I'm happy with a half pound, because I was like, as long as I lose something,
yeah,
I'm happy. And, you know, and that's kind of like why I'm kind of happy to be here with you, because in the sense of, I've had this problem for so long.
Right.
You know, because it's like I stick to it, and I lose a whole bunch of weight, and then it just all comes right back.
Right.
And there's nothing, you know, and it's just like we had class last night at the Biggest Loser, and you know, we were talking about all kinds of different things, and I told her that was the one thing I couldn't understand, is I was supposed to eat over, you know, you got your bottom line, how many calories you're supposed to eat. You're supposed to eat over that amount, but under this amount. And so I was having trouble getting up to that amount, but once I ate that amount,
right,
I was losing the weight. But then the next year they said, okay, we're going to drop 500 calories. I was like, okay, fine. So I was happy because I didn't have to
right.
eat as much. And I gained every bit of that weight back with the lower calories, you know.
Right.
And even with the little bit that you're making me eat now, was it last night or the night before, I just didn't feel like eating the rest of the food. You know, I didn't have my dinner.
What we can't do is get into starvation. That's what I
Yeah.
don't want you to do, because that does suppress your metabolism. So we need to eat to that level that are recommended for that reason.
Yeah.
We need to make sure you get something in there. Plus, you got to make sure you're getting the nutrients and not becoming malnourished.
Right.
Right. So that's the bigger issue that I see.
Yeah.
But let's get back to week 1.
Okay.
All right. Let's be rigid. Let's be structured. Let's do this. I don't anticipate this having a massive effect on you, but it may help. And I think, again, I think the big confusing part for a lot of patients is understanding that for you to lose weight, you have to be in a calorie deficit. I mean, you have to be.
Right.
Right? It's always about calories in, calories out. Now, like I talked about, that excess sodium, inflammation, that can make it challenging, but I think it's really, really important to understand, not impossible. Right? So the expectation for some is, I need to see drastic change every single week, and when that doesn't happen, then this diet, in quotations, doesn't work for me anymore. That's not the case, right? A diet is a diet. It doesn't matter if it's a Weight Watchers, if it's a Zone, if it's a cabbage soup, if it's an Atkins, it doesn't matter. It strictly comes down to calories, and they've shown that in numerous trials that have been published in scientific journals, that all things being equal, every diet produces a similar result.
Right.
Weight loss. What's challenging, though, is the adherence in adoption rate. Fad diets or extreme diets of eliminating carbohydrates completely, or following, like a cabbage soup style diet, right? Or even the HCG diet, right? For the short term, they do produce a significant amount of weight. But the adherence rate long term is dismal. I mean, we're talking close to 100% failure rate, right? People can do it for a short period, but they can't sustain it.
Yeah.
And if you can't sustain it, then you haven't adopted the lifestyle necessary to maintain it.
Yeah.
Right? And then they revert back to their previous behaviors, and they gain all the weight back.
And then go, duh.
Correct. Yes. Right. So for us, we have to look at it as, it's a calorie level. The diet is structured in a way for a calorie level to promote weight loss. That's it. Yes, it's a little bit lower carbohydrate, a little bit higher protein, but extremely low fat.
Yeah.
Right? That's a healthy way to lose weight from not only a weight loss, but also from a health component. Right? Better results with your triglycerides, better results with your cholesterol. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to help you lose weight, but also improve your health.
Right.
And that's the reason why, it's a moderately reduced carbohydrate, not elimination. Moderately, we're talking 40 to 45%. 30% approximately, or the 35% of protein, and around 20 to 25% fat. Healthy diet.
Right.
And that's what we're focused on. Okay?
Okay.
All right, good.
Okay.
Any questions for me? You said you're out of supplies, so...
I'm out of everything. I only have like 3 bars left.
Okay.
The shakes
and
are
what
gone.
flavor of bars did you have again?
You just gave me the chocolate ones.
Do you want to try... I've got apple cinnamon, I think I have a chocolate banana.
Ooh, apple cinnamon.
All right, so we'll do apple cinnamon, and then a flavor of shakes. I've got strawberry, there's no raspberry, strawberry, vanilla, and chocolate.
I think I'll go well, let's try the two new ones. We'll try the strawberry and the vanilla, because I haven't had
Okay,
those
so
two.
strawberry, vanilla, and apple cinnamon. All right, let me go get those for you real quick.
Okay.
And